Um, Hello, everybody. This is the Pennsylvania Board Party's general call for July 2026. I believe we've seen a lot of you on this past weekend, and that's actually the first order of business. Uh, Once I share my screen, as you know, uh, this past weekend was our convention, and this is a group picture of us, and here is some more pictures. And basically, I wanted to open the floor up to all those who attended and get your thoughts on uh, the day and what your plans are for the future on how to springboard from the convention forward. So if you're able to, unmute yourself and join in. Uh, I should probably mention that we did elect a new secretary, David Grimes here. I wanted to congratulate him, and he had some thoughts he mentioned earlier today, and I wanted to give some time for him to talk. David?
Just to make sure, can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. I plugged in a different mic, so I wanted to check. I don't have a lot to say, but as secretary, I see the focus being to organize things, and that's something we've been talking a lot about at the convention and immediately after the convention. We spent a lot of time comparing notes with our partners in the Maryland Forward Party and the New Jersey Forward Party about how to take all of the independent energy that people on this call represent and focus that and actually empower and coordinate all of us to do things together, more meaningful things than just hopping on calls like this. These calls are a good start, but by themselves, they don't accomplish anything. So please keep an eye out for contact from us as we get our ducks in a row. We want to start reaching out to you to find out what you're interested in doing, what you are not interested in doing. Is there some people who want to go out into the world and have live meetups? There are other people who would rather do something behind the scenes, like push forward a website update when we have some sort of a change that needs to be made. So we really want to try to connect all of us a little bit better and organize the work that we need to do. So please keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, and Rachel, I believe you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share. Maybe it'll inspire some others to share. And I know I'm sure Chris has some things coming up on these last few days of signature collection that we really want to get over the finish line. So I'll just put a plug for him to get the floor for a second. But yeah, so similar to David, like I feel like a whole, re-inspiration and, flurry of activity today with some of the leaders behind the scenes and others, talking about the convention and good things that went and things we can do. And then I just was so motivated. Some of you on this call even probably received an email from me, just personal from me, based on people I've met in Philadelphia. I don't live in Philadelphia, just close to Philadelphia. And it's really been like a missed opportunity or an untapped resource of like, there's elections, there's policy, there's commissions. And I just don't even know the races and the players down there, but a lot of Philadelphia people do, and they care, and it's policy and it's politics and it's offices. So I'm kind of just hoping to reinvigorate the Philadelphia folks just to self-organize with help, of course, from us. And, we could replicate this in other towns and cities as well, but you probably did receive an email from me trying to connect the Philadelphia cohort and considering all the things David mentions. Do you want to do things in person? How do you want to organize? When I first came to Forward, I thought, put me in coach. And then they were like, no, you make it. You figure, we are making it. And so as we organize in Philadelphia, I'm really hoping that in 2026, we can get a small group of leaders or a leader or two that can get some real activity going as far as organizing. So it can be any of the things like David mentioned and more: in-person meetups, organizing, candidates, advocacy, petitioning, all of the things. So you can reach out to any of us leaders and respond to that email. And I actually think I might have missed a couple people because I looked at names, and if I didn't know personally them, I didn't email them. And I think Phil, actually, if you're in Philadelphia, I saw your name on a Philadelphia list and I see your face on this call, and I should have sent it to you. So I'm going to forward it to you. That's all.
I forgive you.
Yeah. Did anybody else have some thoughts on the convention?
Actually, I want to add something, add a little color to what Rachel had said about that spirit of renewal of speak. I thought for like a small independent convention, it wasn't as small as I thought it was going to be, and it was like incredibly well done. And I think it kept moving. Kudos to you, Ben, on the business side, which in the past has sometimes been a challenge, but it really wasn't at all a challenge. It went very well, and you were able to roll with the technology glitches. And David, you and Robert, I mean, just put together an incredible program. Chris was great here, and the candidates and the focus groups. And I especially got a lot out of listening to the fellow from New Jersey and the guys from Maryland who have, and we've been hopscotching each other over the last few years, and how everybody's approached things. And I think to your point, David, this is a time for us to figure out a way to not necessarily join forces, but kind of, so we're all rowing in the same direction and making use of each other's time. And I just, leveraging what you said and what Rachel said, I thought it was a great day. And Zach, I don't want to leave you out. I don't see your face, your beautiful face on this, but you really got to take a bow. You managed to pull off 10 hours of sitting outside of that, with outside of the room at that table, checking people in and doing the t-shirt thing and handling the incredible Rube Goldberg financial arrangements we had for all of that. And you did it with grace, and that was cool. It really helped.
Zach was a dynamo. For all that you were right about how he spent a lot of time at the table, he also somehow found opportunities to dash inside and take a couple of gimbal videos of the breakout sessions and some other things.
Oh, wow.
Every time I turned around, Zach was there.
And I have to give it up for everybody who helped plan it and supported us on the day of. With special thanks to David and Robert and Zach and Kathy and everybody else involved. So want to thank everybody and all our speakers like Chris Gambino. And I'm betting you have something to say today as well in your quest for signatures.
Yeah, happy to. I mean, I'll reflect first, given the question that you pose, Ben. I think that, I was really excited, and I'm particularly excited to hear the conversation that's been moving since the convention. I, as someone who in my day-to-day really does work on measuring outcomes, like I'm excited to see people start focusing on where that energy is going to go and what we need. And there's some good conversations that you guys pulled together on the panels. And Benjamin, I think in your session, that breakout session, I think you had some intent on like, how do we get people's information so that we can build this cohort of people to continue to help our candidates moving forward. And I think those are the directions we need to move in. I think we need to start developing those lists in the different areas that we are in and have those things together so that we can really support candidates in a much better way, and happy to talk about that more. But to Rachel's point, I'm looking at this countdown I built. There's 10 days, 15 hours and 47 minutes until July 31st at noon, which is like the deadline I gave myself. Technically, the state gives me until August 3rd to go to Harrisburg and submit my nomination papers. So that gives like 2 weekends, 2 more big weekend pushes. I have today build out some separate 18 to 25, 25, 26 to 33, and 65 plus categories, and separating them by parties. For phone numbers we have available to text bank. So if texting is something that you do often and are comfortable with, I've got copy and paste script, and you can just knock it out, and ultimately just asking people if they'd be willing to sign, and tell them that we're happy to schedule a time to go pick up that signature, or they can meet me this Friday. All of that's already scheduled and tailored. So if anyone wants to do that, please reach out. Rachel's got my contact, Ben's got it, but you can email me at team@gambino4pa.com. Happy to have a conversation, plug you in if you've got a couple hours in the day to send 50 or so text messages. I've already had people hit the ground running today doing that. I don't know how lucrative it's going to be, but I do think we're pulling out every opportunity we have to get in touch with people and let them know we exist, so that they can participate if they want to participate, and help out. So that's my plug. If you're willing to do that, it seems like a pretty easy lift for a lot of people to just be able to shoot a text message from wherever you're located. Would love to have some help reaching those folks that have numbers.
Hey, Chris,
Yep.
are you comfortable giving us some idea, reminding everybody wasn't on the call or wasn't at the convention on Saturday, reminding us all what you're running for?
Oh yeah, absolutely, Jack. I am running as a Ford affiliated independent for state representative in the 143rd district here in Pennsylvania, and so that is essentially partly central, partly upper Bucks County. Jack, I think you muted yourself by accident.
Right. Can you tell us, share how many signatures you need to get on the ballot? And
Yeah, so the requirement is 488. We broke 300. The goal would be at least like 550 to give me some good wiggle room with that. I've been tracking, and largely with that tracking, I kind of am validating signatures as they go. So that's 300 plus that I think will be valid. There's no in my mind, there's no rhyme or reason of how the state does things. So we'll see what actually ends up happening. And if I can get to 550, I'm going to submit. I will. If I can't get there, then I'm going to have a question. I'll kind of talk with the team here and folks and figure out if the best strategy is to submit or to withhold, because if we submit, then that becomes public and then people know who did sign. So there might be a strategy with, if I'm not going to make the threshold, to hold back those signatures so that when we go to try again, people don't know who already did participate and did sign, and that's only information we have. Don't know how that's going to operate, but that's just one thing I'm thinking about right now. There's probably some strategies to that. So we'll see. The goal is to get 550, and I will show up to Harrisburg Monday and hand those off.
And I do see Shannon Jackson on here. We are in the process of vetting him, but I do want to give you an opportunity to talk as well.
Yes, I'm running for state representative also in the in HD 89. That's Chambersburg area. While I am running as a Democrat, I very much believe in the Forward Party's founding principles, and expect to, if elected, I expect to move forward with those. I guess that's all I have.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of put you on the spot there, but I wanted to at least acknowledge that you're on the call and point out that you're a candidate as well.
Thanks.
Speaking about candidates, oops. Sometimes I have to remember which order to do things in. Yeah.
Do you mind if I jump in with one more observation about the convention?
Sure.
You're about to move to something else. It was really interesting for me because Robert and I, especially, were thinking about that agenda a lot. So I was not surprised by anything that happened because I was, up to my elbows in actually figuring out what was going to happen in what order. But what really struck me as I actually lived through the day was that seeing all of those different speakers and having all of those different conversations in succession put things in a new kind of perspective. One little glimpse of that was when the Fair District's PA representative, Tony Crocamo, spoke back to back with Lisa Brackbill, who wrote that book about activism inspired by the tragedy she went through personally and her attempts to advocate for legislative change. They're coming from very different arenas, but they both encountered a legislature that was dysfunctional and that couldn't achieve a good outcome for the constituents. Then we also saw candidates speak, Chris Gambino from the perspective of how difficult it is to run as an independent. And then Ron Beitler, who recently switched to independent while in office, having run as a Republican, and made the point that he's in a unique position being able to do that because it would be an electorally poor decision otherwise. And then we heard from Ron Ruman, who is registered as a Democrat now instead of a Republican, because he's in a situation where he really needs to be registered with a major party in order to be politically viable. So there are all of these different aspects of dysfunction that I think being at the convention and talking about all of them at once and in connection, it stressed that it's all connected. And the Forward Party is in a unique place because we have one foot in the electoral reform and reform of the system, like nonprofit organizations like Fair Districts PA, but we're also trying to help candidates like Chris Gambino and Ron Beitler and Ron Ruman. So I think that we are uniquely positioned, and it was really a rewarding opportunity at the convention to see all of those pieces come together and find the Forward Party at the focus of it.
Yeah, and speaking about candidates, as I said before, just a reminder of who has gotten through our vetting process so far. We've endorsed Chris Gambino, Rodney Jones, Ron Ruman, and Valerie Gatos here in Western PA. Sorry, see your hand up, Rachel.
Yeah, sorry. David, you kind of reminded me also like that sometimes it seems like weird, like we have like Democrats and Republicans and candidates and pointing out how like there is a political calculus sometimes, and some of the independents have calculated that it's better to run as an independent than to join a party that even though it's forward, that the party being a part of a party is the problem, or where depending on where they live and what the race looks like, they make these strategic decisions. And that's part of the reality that we live in as opposed to the reality we'd like to live in. So it reminds me that something all of us can do is a little bit of research to our local municipalities and governments, or even your state house reps or state senators or anyone. And if you think that someone acts in forward manner and perhaps would be interested in affiliating or changing parties, obviously that's the dream, but even just affiliating and becoming a seated elected forward independent, forward Democrat, forward Republican, maybe they're not running again, maybe they will run again and they think forward can help them in the next race, or maybe by the time they're up for re-election, forward has more traction and we bring more to the table. There's all this calculus going on, but the dream is that we have all these people who are affiliated, and one day the switch flips and all of a sudden there's all these people sitting in office who declare themselves forward members, and this startup that's been slogging away all of a sudden is everywhere, and there's a couple people making decisions in commissions, legislatures, all over the place. And that really is the large vision. So it doesn't have to be candidates. You can look around in your communities and see if somebody asks them as a constituent if they'd like to have coffee, if they have time for a phone call, and you never know if they might be interested. Send them our way to have a conversation about affiliation.
Yeah, and I also want to piggyback on that. There's a lot of things going on at the local level. Next year is municipal elections, and uh, we encourage people to get involved with their local governments and show up to their borough council meetings, see what's happening in your locality. And if you get inspired to run, we want to know about that and as soon as possible, so we can help start planning a run for you. So, and speaking about running for office, I recently what attended some Alliance for Competitive Elections trainings in June, and I came away with incredible. I thought they were absolutely incredible. They have some coming up in August for field tactics. Uh, so like tabling and canvassing. So I encourage uh, members to check out their website and learn more about these opportunities. And I should probably give a second and give a little bit of an overview of ACE. For a second. They're a group that is very concerned with leveling the playing field between the major parties and third and the independents and third parties. And I can give you their homepage here. Like us, they want uh, a strong democracy, and they're attacking this issue by helping train third party people in those spaces. So hopefully, if you're interested, you can learn more about their opportunities and hopefully join them for a training or two. So I encourage you to check out the Alliance for Competitive Elections, ACE, if you can. Likewise, sorry. Back to this. Next slide. Likewise, the open primaries is also starting their application process for their spokesman training for in October. You do have to apply, but if you are interested in that type of training, Sophie joined us at our convention as a partly as a representative of open primaries. Let us vote, and this is how you can get more involved in that space. I believe Robert and I joined it, and it was pretty productive. There are also national Ford events coming up. The Young Fordists have an introduction meeting. They do several times a month. Tomorrow, or sorry, the 22nd at 5 p.m. is one. The Women's Committee is having a conversation with Lindsay Williams-Draft, our CEO of the National Ford Party, on July 29th. A national volunteer call on August 10th. And I should mention that on National Poll Worker Day, August 11th, Carrie Ann is doing a Ford at the polls, and I believe Zach might be helping her with that. Uh, if he's on here, can confirm that. If he stepped away, uh, obviously he can't. But I encourage members to join up with those. There is also that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. On Thursday, August 6th, there is a board virtual discussion on the book We Reawakening the Spirit of Philadelphia, kind of apt with our convention last weekend. So I encourage you guys to check out that book and join the discussion at on this website. You can always find that at the National Public Events Calendar on their website as well. Yes. See now that Zach had put in the chat that he does plan on participating on that National Poll Worker Day event. So support Zach and our poll workers on that day by attending that discussion. Along with that, Fair Districts was at our convention this weekend. You can see their events with the QR code on the screen or on their website. They always have events throughout the state, so I encourage you guys to attend if you can. Also, there are plenty of national committees. I encourage you to check those out as well. And our next call will be on August 17th. And I believe we're also at open floor question time. Any further comments about the convention, the upcoming events, whatever ways we can help get involved in our community, ideas. We encourage your participation.
Is there something that folks who maybe are not in leadership quite yet are saying like, "Oh, you know what you guys are missing," or like, "You know what we didn't talk about or we're not working on," like something, that we should be adding, something we sparked on over the weekend or tonight that you're like, "We need more of this," or just, more ideas. A lot of us wear many hats and we're trying to get our roles fulfilled, but we really could use fresh new ideas, additional leaders who want to spearhead things. Any thoughts from folks, besides the crew of us who talk a lot?
Rachel, are you telling me to shut up?
No, I'm not so subliminally telling myself to shut up.
No, I'm just kidding. Just went for the laugh line.
Absolutely. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I do see some folks that were at the convention this weekend who
Yeah, no, I'm chiming in. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Congratulations. I mean, as I will say, I'm a longtime independent. We are so good. I'm so happy that the Forward Party is doing what we're doing. So congratulations. I have to say that it was very well. And thanks, Ben. It was so well organized. I know I'm coming on late. And I got to go to another call, but congratulations. I have that to say. Hats off. Salute you. And Rachel, of course, anyway.
Yeah, and one way, uh, Chris mentioned it. I haven't uh put it up on, haven't talked about it on one of these calls yet, but one of the things I presented at the candidate discussion was I'm trying to get people to start doing a survey of people in their communities to help uh, introduce the Ford Party to people who are not aware of us. And it seems like a low, low cost, low stakes way of doing so. And I just wanted to share what it looks like. Uh, and it has a couple of different goals. One, to get this information up on top so that we can, if we have a candidate in that area, we can try to contact them via phone or email, and also hear from the community on how they feel about third parties in politics and why they support the major parties if they disagree with us, and also key information on how often they vote, because we don't want to, if we know a person is only voting in presidential elections, they're probably not going to want to talk to a mayoral candidate, uh, and what issues they care about at the local, state, and national level. So if this is something that seems like a way you would like to engage with the party, we could we'll get you a copies of that survey, and hopefully soon before the next, probably before the next statewide, I hope to have a electronic version of that as well. Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to segue and connect to what the form that you just mentioned. I think one thing is, I mean, you can make it a lower lift for people that voter information can just get pulled down from the state website. So it's $20 per county, and that has people's entire voting history. And so we can parse through that without having to ask someone whether or not they voted in, what election they voted in, just to have less questions to ask the person, which will seem less invasive as well. So I think that that could be a strategy to get the information that you need, which is ultimately like, how do they feel about independent parties? Less about like, hey, do you vote? And when do you vote? And when's the last time you voted? So I think we can potentially parse that down to be a more simple survey. And connected to that, some of the things that I had been thinking about coming out of the Ford Party convention, the PA convention last weekend, and some of the things that I desire to see and have help with is thinking through. Sorry, I've got some background noise, so I'm struggling to think real quick. Is help with just getting accurate information. And so as a candidate, I've engaged with the state. There are people within the Ford Party on this call that have information. There are former people that I've connected with that have information, but it seems like everyone's information is a little bit different. And one of the biggest things is like, okay, what township do you put the person for the signature, right? Everyone tells you it's got to be X, or it's got to be this, or it's got to be that. The state, I've asked multiple times. They've sent me an email back with just some generic text. They will not answer the question directly. I've asked directly. I have addresses. That is their voter registration address. Is this what's supposed to go on this form? And they will not answer directly. And so that's problematic, right? And that's especially problematic for independents like us, where our signatures are so much more important. People are going to take us to court. They're going to try and throw them out. We need to have very tried and true information to hand off to candidates. And I can't find that and I can't even get it from the state. So like if we can use some of the party energy to go and be like, make the state communicate something clearly in writing so that we have it. And then we can have that piece, and then we can take it to court if we need to, because now we have the state said this thing.
Hey, Chris, interesting that you use that one example, and I'd like to pick your brain a little bit. When we were working with Eric and Chris in 2024, Eric Settle, I think you might have met him at the convention. It was our understanding that the township was the legal entity. So it could be a borough or a township, but it's not necessarily the place where you live. For example, my voter's registration card says West Grove, but I'm actually in West Marlboro Township, right? And so we were counseled in those days by the state to put West Marlboro Township on the town. Is that where you ended up in your journey of trying to find out what to do for signatures?
See, people are I'm using what's on the registration because it's the only piece of information I have, and I don't know what everyone else's place would be, right? It would then be up to me to have them think about, what am I supposed to put on this document? And they don't necessarily know the right thing to put on the document, the signer, right? And I don't know all the nuances within where we are. So because the only thing I can go back to and say, like, this is what the state has as the address. And so that's why I'm using it, because then I can point to it and say, this is the voter registration address, versus they put something and then that's problematic. That's why I think it's super important that we get very specific information from the state on what this is. And that just brings up larger questions, like it's getting signature. There's so many problems inherent with getting signatures that needs to be part of the election reform conversation.
I agree. It's interesting that there's still. I agree. I think we should take that under advisement and create some sort of white paper ban. But I know for sure that we were told that they had to fill the whole thing out. We couldn't fill out the city form, right? And it wasn't their postal address.
Yeah, the cleanest from our perspective as a party is to put the municipality where they vote in and where they pay taxes at, because it provides a little bit of legal backing as well, because the form says city, borough, or township. So if you put your city, borough, or township and they have a problem, you can make the argument that that's what the form asks for, versus with the mailing address. Like, I currently live in Crafton, but my mailing address is City of Pittsburgh or Pittsburgh. If I put Pittsburgh there instead of Crafton, it is taking a risk, because technically I do not live in the city of Pittsburgh. So that's how we
Yeah. I'm with that. Ben's story closely correlates with mine. And Rachel, remember when we were in Gettysburg and we were getting signatures, we would tell people, it's like your street address, and then the township.
Yeah, so
borough,
I was
city.
gonna jump in. So we all got training at the same time, and part of that training came from Christine, and she's run for office many times, and she's not on this call, but I'm gonna reach out to her tonight or tomorrow and just ask her if she has anything in writing, and whether she does or doesn't. I agree. This is a great project for someone who doesn't want to knock on doors or run for office. We would love to have assistance to really get an answer from the state. And then when it comes to lower, smaller races, we could always each time try to get something in writing. I think it's a great idea, Chris. I remember very clearly being told, you tell the person it's the municipality in which you vote. So, not to beat a dead horse, my mailing address is Ambler. I vote in Upper Dublin. And when I go to my voting venue, it's Upper Dublin Ward 2. Like, it makes sense. I pay taxes to Upper Dublin. My kid goes to the Upper Dublin schools. My mailing address is Ambler. There's a million examples like this. And we can't write for them. And I don't think Chris was suggesting we could. That is the instructions that we were given. And then I started working with Chris, and he felt, he said, well, this is issued by the state. Why wouldn't it be what's on the voter registration? It's a really good argument. And I was just like, oh, it was what I was told. That's just what I learned. And so to me, that's what it is. But we need to know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll make the case. We just need this needs to be a much clearer process. It literally says on the nomination paper, I'm staring at it right now, place of residence. That's what those fields are. And it does have house number, street, road, city, borough, township, but above that, the category is place of residence.
Well,
And-
I agree, Chris.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
the thing is I don't live in West Grove. And Rachel doesn't live in Ambler. Or she does, she doesn't. That's her mailing address. So the place of residence is different. Place of residence is accurate. It's the thing that's on the voter's registration card might very well be a mailing address.
Which makes
Oh.
sense because you can get mail-in ballots and how you're supposed to communicate or send your card. It does make sense that what they have on file is your mailing address. But again, I'm not a constituent of the Ambler Borough Council. I can't vote for Ambler Borough Council. I don't live in the borough. My mailing address is this. And I'm technically across the street. So I am in Upper Dublin. My kid goes to Upper Dublin schools.
Yeah, the petition needs to have the municipality, even if it's different than the mailing address.
Do you know where you got that information, Phil? Because I agree, but only because it's what I was told.
I don't have a specific source, but I've worked in this area for 40 years.
You think you could track it down? Do you have any connections or something that you could kind of pump for something in writing?
Well, it says, the form says, I don't have it, still have it
Yeah,
up,
but it's open to interpretation. Yeah, I
calling
think
for the
to Chris's point.
municipality. It's calling for your municipality, then that's your municipality, even if it's different than your voting, mailing address.
Anyway, I
My
think we all
background is
agree. It's yeah.
My background is with the U.S. Census Bureau. I work with redistricting officials. I work with the Postal Service. That's, if it's asking you for the municipality, that's what you need to put down.
It's vague, I'm sure, and hard for independents and hard for signature gatherers by design. This is not a coincidence, but it is on organizations like us to, get something to, again, if we get a challenge to be able to say, no, this is what you told us.
Yeah. Yeah. So any more comments, discussion on that item? I should note that independents would probably have a legal defense if those signatures were challenged on that specific issue. But it's always best to try to do it in the way the form says, even though it's unclear. But any other topics for that anybody wanted to bring up? David.
I wanted to highlight a discussion that Karen and Rachel had in the chat. Karen asked how she could get to know other forward party participants in her particular county. And if either of you, Rachel or Karen, would like to jump in and share on that, please do. But it reminded me of last year when the National Forward Party was really encouraging all of the states to try to recruit county leads. We didn't have a whole lot of success with that. And I think that could partially because the idea of being a county lead sounds intimidating. It sounds like something very official, but at a very base level, a leader in a county starts out as someone like that who is just interested in the forward party and wants to collect other people in their area who are also interested in the forward party. So if you are that kind of person like Karen is, there doesn't have to be any sort of official designation to it at this point, but we will try to support you in connecting with other people local to you who are also interested in the forward party or just independent and electoral reform movements generally.
Excuse me, I just wanted to let you know I did a search on this and it says frequently asked questions for completion of a candidate's affidavit under pa.gov/content/ a couple other things. And it says here, your municipality is what you should be using, not your post office.
Yeah. So hopefully, not too many people are kicked off. Not too many signatures would be kicked off for that, but uh, that is pretty much what we try to advise when asked that ourselves. So
I helped Justin Douglas when he was running against Janelle Stelson get signatures, and that was consistent with what we were going with there as well.
yeah, so regardless, I would still encourage whichever one they put on the form, I would still submit the signature because it's only an issue as if somebody challenges it. So if somebody, it's always in it, the burden of proof is always on the challenger. So that is one area that is in favor of the independent candidate because one, you have to have a challenge, and two, they have to prove that it is not a valid signature. So still submit everyone and let somebody else tell you that it's not a valid signature.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of thoughts like about making lemonade out of lemons or whatever, because I mean, even with like Eric, we were like, the idea is just to like quietly collect these signatures and hopefully we don't ruffle too many feathers so the D's and the R's don't challenge and we just end up on the ballot. And that is the cheapest, most efficient way to get on the ballot. However, if you get challenged, it probably makes it into the news, and perhaps if you win that challenge, that's even better. Or if you lose the challenge and you want to launch a writing campaign, I mean, no, but there is bad press, but let's just go with there is no such thing as bad press. So something to think about, but there is obviously, I think, probably legal fees and time that you spend fighting a challenge. So it would be great not to have to fight that challenge, I guess, unless you think the spin is better. Just a thought.
Yeah. And that is, I should also clarify, that is not a given permission for candidates just to write up Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, and all that jazz. Don't do that. That's called fraud. But if somebody actually signed the nomination paper, you kind of owe it to them to at least try to get it validated.
And let's be serious, these are pages of signatures, so you're not throwing
Yeah.
away a piece of paper over, one signature that might get flagged. Yeah. Ooh, Karen.
Yeah.
I think when I collected signatures for when I was just running for judge of elections, they required that the signature and the information on there has to be exactly like it is on your voter registration.
Oh man, there's a curveball.
Yes. So my name is registered as Karen A9. So if I would sign that as Karen 9, then it wouldn't go through. So that's important also when you're collecting signatures. And yes, I am interested in becoming county lead, so I'm somebody's got to do it. I'm going to see what I can do.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, we used to have somebody very active in Berks County, and hopefully I could try to connect you with her.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna reach out and try to reconnect. I know she is busy with some personal things and you never know when people want to re-engage, which is also why I sent that email to folks in Philly who I haven't heard from in maybe a year or two or more. I still included some people; they're still in our database, and I happen to have their contact. And we do have, I told Karen, our seated forward elected candidate in Lower Heidelberg Township, I believe. Dr. Chris Woodward, he ran as a forward candidate in 24, is it? 23 or 24, it must have been 23 because it's local, and he is a sitting, if his term is still going, He was a real deal forward candidate. I think his signature collection was something like 24, you know, so these offices, it depends. Chris is running for state rep. It's a higher bar, but there is some seeds there. We'll connect you, Karen.
Yeah, and I believe that, yeah, Eric Taylor, Judge Eric Taylor is also your judge. Countywide elected office we endorsed last year as well. But as judge, he is kind of has some prohibitions on political activity. So, but we have been active in Berks County as well. Anyone else who wants to speak at this time? I am very happy to see a lot of participation tonight. Usually sometimes it's harder, but tonight has been pretty productive in the open floor session. So hope we can continue this in future meetings as well.
On that note, can I pose another question to everyone who's here?
Sure.
I see some of the same names on the calls. I'm curious if you're willing to speak up and share. I'm curious to ask, what is it that keeps you coming back to these calls? Because as we try to focus on connecting better with volunteers and future Forward Party volunteers in the state, I think it would help to think about, for the people we already have connecting, what has made you connect? What has made you stay? What is it that's keeping you engaged right now? Is there anyone willing to comment on that reason for themselves?
And if you're new, which is there are a few of them, what will keep you? Like, what are you hoping, you know, we make good on?
So just if you're interested, I have been in discussions with people from the PA Forward Party in the past over time. I think what caught my eye was PA Fair Districts I've been associated with for quite some time. And I saw that. So I thought, you know, I had some time this evening. I thought I'd jump on and see what folks were talking about.
And I'm kind of similar. I've been, you know, watching a number of, you know, Forward Party activities. I was at the convention. I'm not really, you know, I'll be upfront. I'm not going to be a very active person. I'm more on the sidelines, just kind of watching. And if I can add any, you know, information or ideas, I'll do so. But I don't want to be one of those folks with ideas, and you know, I don't walk the walk, so I don't want to, you know, be a hypocrite. But my interest is, I just believe in the concept of, you know, having 3 or more parties active is just better for the country at every level. And so I hope Forward Party succeeds. I hope it becomes, you know, a viable force, as well as maybe some others that might get formed. This, you know, one party and the 2-party system, when one becomes the majority and, you know, doesn't really have to deal with anyone else, it's just not working. So that's kind of my motivation for, you know, for being aware of and watching and what's going, you know, the growth of the party and its effectiveness.
Yeah, and we welcome all kinds of support, no matter how big or how small. So we are thankful for whatever anybody can give us. And that helps us grow. Even just a tiny bit is always welcome. Anybody else on this topic or another? Yes, Karen.
I registered as a Forward Party member when I heard somebody and I don't remember who it was, on our local radio station when they had a very good talk program with a local host. And when I heard him, I said, that sounds like something we all need to do. So that's when I changed my registration. So I'm judge of elections too. And it was a little upsetting. Well, I knew I wouldn't be able to vote in a primary, but it just pissed me off really because I couldn't do that. And, I've always voted for the person I thought was best for the job, even if it's a party member that is not my party. And it just is annoying when you hear people coming in and they want to vote straight Republican or straight Democrat without even looking at the participants. And I think the Forward Party has an opportunity to reach out and educate people better. And that's what I would like to be able to do, even if that's going to like the Arts on the Avenue and having a stand. But like we talked about that, it can't be me all day. It has to be other people. So that's what I want to try to do, something like that, because if people don't know about you, they're not going to join.
Yeah, and we're hoping we can find new ways to get that out, and we always will be asking for people to step up and help us in that.
Hey, Karen, do you think there's any way to contact the local station and find out who that was and maybe see if they're still around, or at least it would connect us more to like somebody motivated you to do something pretty big. Was it one of our national people? Was it a local? We would love to know, and if they're still around.
I could. The person who was hosting that show has retired, and he's probably have a list of all the people who
It
he's
might have
had
been
on his
Eric,
show.
actually. I know
Pardon?
Eric was on a couple of shows in 2024.
Maybe. I mean, I'm sure you have a time frame because kind of around when you changed your voter registration,
Yeah.
like a 6-month window of what was the programming. I just wonder if we could chase down this lead and see what it was.
Okay, I'll do my best on that.
Well, thank you, because I'm curious now too.
Yeah, hate to sound like a broken record, but comes with the territory. Any other items for discussion? All right, it is 9:01, and I should probably share the last slide. See you next time. Have a great night. And help Pennsylvania move forward. All right. Have a great night.
Welcome all.
Thanks, Ben. Everyone have a great night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Night.